Hello and welcome to Knit and Crochet with Joanna. In this tutorial we are going to learn how to knit this very pretty brioche pattern, and it's very easy because we make it only with knit stitches. It's a 2 rows repeat pattern. It's 1 row repeat pattern, but we work alternately. I did here an infinity scarf. And my infinity scarf has a length from 1.60 meters and a height from 26 centimeters. I used 2.5 skeins of yarn and needles number 8. The yarn that I use calls Punto Cartopu. It's 80% acrylic and 20% polyamide, and 100 grams has 110 meters. I worked with needles number 8 and I knitted in total 2.5 skeins of yarn. I'm going to make now a small example with the pattern, and we need an odd number of chain stitches. For my infinity scarf I used needles number 8 and 25 stitches. 2 for my edge stitches and 23 for the pattern. For my example now, I'm going to use smaller needles and 15 chain stitches, 2 for the edge stitches and 13 for my example. So the first what I do is I purl all the stitches till the end of the row. I don't count this row. The reason why I do this is because I want the pattern in the front side of my work. So I purl every stitch till the end of the row. I turn my work, and now I make a foundation row with knit stitches. This row only one time. I start with my edge stitch and I knit for my infinity scarf my first edge stitch from the back side. So I insert my needle from the back side into the first stitch and I knit the stitch. This is how I make my edge stitch. And continue now with knit stitches. Knit every stitch normal from the front side till the end of the row. So here's my second edge stitch, and here I bring the yarn to the front side and I slip the stitch to my right needle. So I have a nice stitch at beginning and at the end, but you can work your edge stitches as ever you like. I turn my work. I'm on the back side of my work now, and I start here with my pattern. I knit at first my edge stitch from the back side, and now knit one stitch normal from the front side. Knit the next stitch 1 row less. So here is the stitch on the needle. I go 1 row less into the hole, into the chain stitch. I grab the yarn and I pull through, and so I knit 1 row less. Drop now the stitch from the left needle. We repeat this now till the end of the row. Knit 1 stitch normal, knit 1 stitch 1 row less. We go 1 row less into the stitch and we knit the stitch. Again, knit 1 stitch normal, knit 1 stitch 1 row less. Knit 1 stitch normal, knit 1 stitch 1 row less. knit 1 stitch normal, knit 1 stitch, 1 row less, knit 1 stitch normal, knit 1 stitch, 1 row less, and finish the row with 1 knit stitch normal. I bring the yarn to the front side and I slip my edge stitch. So I turn my work and I repeat the same row, but this time alternately. So I start with my edge stitch and I knit my edge stitch from the back side again. And now I finished the last row with 1 knit stitch normal. So I start this row with 1 knit stitch, 1 row less. I insert my needle into the chain, 1 row less, and I knit the stitch. Knit the next stitch normal. And we repeat this till the end of the row. Knit 1 stitch, 1 row less, knit the next stitch normal, knit 1 stitch, 1 row less, knit the next stitch normal, knit 1 stitch, 1 row less, knit the next stitch normal, knit 1 row less, knit 1 stitch normal, knit 1 row less, knit the next stitch normal, and the last stitch, knit 1 row less. Here is the stitch on the needle and here 1 row less. I go exact 1 row less into the chain, not down, 1 row less, very important, and I knit the chain and I slip my edge stitch to my right needle. So let's do these 2 rows again together. I knit from the back side at first my edge stitch, and now I finished the last row with 1 knit stitch, 1 row less. So I start now alternately. I knit the stitch normal, and I continue with the pattern. Now I knit the stitch 1 row less, the next stitch normal, and again knit the stitch 1 row less, knit 1 stitch normal, knit the next stitch 1 row less. And if you make a break, it's easy to remember which stitch you have now. If you see here, the yarn is thicker. We have 2 threads here, and it's thicker than in the next stitch. Here we have only 1 thread. So here are 2 threads. That means in the last row we knitted this chain stitch 1 row less, and the next stitch we knitted normal. This is the reason why it's thinner. So now I have to continue with 1 normal knitting stitch and 1 row less, the next stitch, and again 1 normal. Here we have 2 threads, 1 row less, knit the stitch, knit 1 stitch normal, knit the next stitch 1 row less, knit 1 stitch normal, and I slip my edge stitch. So I turn my work and I start again with my edge stitch. I knit my edge stitch from the back side. So, and now I have here only 1 thread. It's thin, and here are 2 threads. This is thicker. So I start 1 row less. I finish my last row with 1 knitting stitch normal. I start now 1 row less. And I knit the next stitch normal. Knit 1 row less. Knit normal. And always alternately, 1 row less, knit the next stitch normal. Knit the stitch 1 row less, knit the next stitch normal. Knit the stitch 1 row less, knit the next stitch normal. And again, knit 1 row less, knit 1 stitch normal. Knit 1 row less, and I slip my edge stitch to my right needle. Let's do this 2 rows one more time together and I can show you how to finish your project. I started first with my edge stitch, and now here we have 2 threads. That means that I finished the last row with 1 knit stitch, 1 row less. So I start now with a normal knit stitch. And I continue with 1 knit stitch, 1 row less. And again, knit 1 stitch normal, knit 1 stitch, 1 row less. Knit 1 stitch normal, knit 1 stitch, 1 row less. Knit 1 stitch normal, knit 1 stitch, 1 row less. Knit 1 stitch normal, knit the next stitch 1 row less. Knit 1 stitch normal, knit 1 stitch 1 row less. Knit 1 stitch normal, and I slip my edge stitch to my right needle. I am here now on the back side of my work. I knit all my stitches, so in the front side I have now purl stitches. So I'm finished my project in the front side. I make my last row in the front side of my work. I start with my edge stitch, and here I go now 1 row less. I finished the last row with a normal knitting stitch, so I go now 1 row less and I start with a knitting stitch 1 row less. I have 2 stitches on my right needle. I insert now my left needle into the first stitch and I bring this stitch over the second. So I make my decreases. I continue with 1 normal knitting stitch. 2 stitches are on the right needle. I bring the first over the second. 1 row less, 1 knitting stitch, and I bring the first over the second stitch. Knit 1 normal stitch, bring the first over the second stitch. Now we have here 1 row less, knit 1 stitch, bring the first over the second stitch. Knit 1 normal stitch, bring the first over the second stitch. And you continue now until the end of the row. You can make, of course, a scarf if you like, also with fringes, or an infinity scarf like me here. What I did is I sewed my ends together. I put one end over the other and I sewed them together. And also 3 buttons. These buttons are only decoration. My length is 1.50 m. My height is 26 centimeters. You can make yours bigger if you like, or also smaller. It's a very nice and pretty pattern, very easy and perfect also for beginners. I hope you enjoy it. I say thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe for more tutorials. Push the like button if you like. Until next time. Thank you.